Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. We are in the playoffs for day number 2, men and women's racing. I'm Nathan Guerra, and the whiteboard fashion expert is next to me, Anna Russell, very early over in New Zealand. And today we've got men's and women's racing, women's TTT up front. We're going to be across the A and the B category. We've got two essentially buys, it looks like, Anna, in the women's side of things for the A's. And then in the B category, we've got some pretty exciting racing. I mean, the A category, obviously, all really exciting as well to see for the kudos and essentially racing for who's who, and also seeing what's going to happen maybe in season 4 between these teams. But in the B category, there's a little bit more up for grabs, I think, as far as the podium goes.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you talked about me being the fashion connoisseur, but yesterday I couldn't even talk about any fashion. It was so exciting. The racing was fantastic. We had the scratch racing and the women's. Today they're out on course doing that team time trial on the very tricky out and back, up the volcano, then up the reverse Watopia QOM. We saw some really good strategies from the men's team, what works. I want to see if that plays out in the women's. We've got the head-to-head battle between Agawat and Kirchmer in the A's. And in the B's, I mean, we had TBR Smarlon, we had Hurd, we had the Danish or DD team. There was just one rider in there, though, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty competitive in that B category. But from what I've seen, looking at the socials after the racing yesterday, it's been competitive everywhere across all categories. And that's what you want to see in the playoffs. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is what you want to see in the playoffs. It's absolutely awesome to see how incredibly tight the racing was yesterday. It came down to only 4 seconds between the top 4 men's teams in that team time trial. We may have a repeat situation of what we saw last season between that bubble of those 3rd place goes through, 4th place doesn't make it. And Fusion ECT, they were on the bad end of the stick last season. Are we going to see a repeat of that? I mean, they are sitting. Let's go ahead and actually take a look here at the current situation between both of the standings here, because it's going to be very telling. The women are the first ones out, so let's go ahead and take a look how that's going. It is going to be Kirchmer, obviously, in the A category here, taking things down yesterday as Agawat were up against the ropes and were very outnumbered going into the back end of the race. But in the women's side of things for the Bs, this is really what we're looking at. In the Dutch Diesel situation yesterday, that was really interesting to see that they've ended up taking that down. I thought TBR Smile were the better.
Yeah, for sure. I even wondered about Hurd because I could see they had so many riders around that sort of top 15, top 20 mark. So I'm actually quite surprised Dutch Diesel, the DD team I call them, has taken that out. Really impressive. So great work from them. And then you've also got the Kirchmer Magnolias there as well. So, oh man, there's going to be some tight racing today. I would not want to be sitting in Kirchmer or Hurd positions, just sort of dangling there. So we'll see how they go.
Yeah, so that's the situation there for the top 3. Cadence is right there. And Laura Thompson yesterday, that sprint is exactly what put them in that 5th place, right behind the Skipper Butterflies. It'll be interesting to see. Because of this, you look at the points that are gained throughout the day and who ends up where, but it's a 1-point difference, 2-point difference now. If Cadence have a good day with these points today, they're still in for the running. Nothing's said and done because of the way that this is structured. So C category now, though, Anna, it's the Herd of Gentoo Penguins, BRT Candy Kittens, and Belgian Zwift riders here. 2 in this C category, Herd of Mischievous Meerkats, ATP Racing Hive right there as well. HCR Crazy Cakes, Herd of Mischievous Meerkats, Lay Watts, the No Show, or Rave C, as well as WTL Drafting Dinos. We had a conversation in pre-production a little bit about this as well. Some of the teams, they like where they're at, too, as well. They're not that interested in the playoffs or the bragging rates, which is just fine. But at the top end here, it does look like it's going to be – I like it that it's the Gentoo Penguins, actually. One of my favorite herd teams to be at the top. Absolutely awesome. And then the Ds.
Yeah, Rave D Euro and Rave D Oz. So actually saw that yesterday. They'd finished a little bit earlier than the other teams. So good old rave battle there. Hopefully we get the music pumping this morning. Vibe in 3rd, ATP Racing Buzz in 4th, and then the WTRL Drafting Dinos in 5th for that playoff for D.
All right, and then in the men's side of things, this is what we were talking about right here.
Oh.
It was those top 4 teams within 4 seconds of each other. It was a battle right to the line with them. We were too bad yesterday. We did have a couple of internet issues on that, but if you go back and watch, you can see not only us fumbling a little bit through a couple of internet issues, but how incredibly close it was. And your prediction, Anna, yesterday was so spot on when it came to what Deepak Elite were up to. CryoDT as well as Team Italy were kind of up ahead up front. And then Velasio and Deepak, they came out of nowhere. The other thing, I was having some messages with Jeff Kabush actually back and forth about what had happened. And KBH, as we saw, had fallen off. He had some sort of a chain issue. So he had a mechanical on the volcano yesterday. KBH, Kevin Bouchard Hall, riding for Velasio. And Kabush and the rest of them waited for him. They were only like, I think it was 2 seconds, maybe 4 seconds off, somewhere between 2 and 4 seconds off the time. That says to me that they were in it to win it. That's got to be 5 to 10 seconds that they lost there.
I mean, it was some of the closest racing I've seen. I think we saw 2 different strategies playing out. We saw Deepak Elite and Velocio just go with that back-end strategy of going faster, keeping as many riders as they could, and that really did pay off. But Cryo, impressive end. They were kind of lagging a little bit, and then that false flat to the desert picked up the pace with only 4 or 5 riders and managed to claw back some time. I think they got it by about a second or 2. Do just want to mention Alien Inc. Resurrection as well. Unfortunately, they did want to be really competitive, but a real stroke of bad luck. One of their riders, Max, I think it was, rode out to the shops before the race to pick up some food and ended up getting hit by a car. So hopefully nothing too serious, and he'll be back on the bike soon, but that was just a real stroke of bad luck for them.
That is horrible luck there, and sorry to hear that, and definitely, hopefully, good to go today. No serious injuries. I mean, wow. Alien Resurrection, definitely the innovation team is one that we were watching out for. Now, they are not out of it. Again, it's that 18 points. To make that jump from 15 to 18 is definitely not impossible. Anything can really change up, especially with a very different kind of race today. They are out on Sand and Sequoias today. We'll take a look at the courses in just a moment. The women are out on course, but it is TTT. We won't be getting any splits anytime. Well, in about 5 minutes or so, we'll start getting some splits in, and we'll start taking a look at those. But this is the A situation. Nobody's really out of it. It would take a little bit of a miracle for some of those lower teams, but definitely still lots of competition to happen here in the A category for going for those prims. In the B category, it is going to be Zwift Racers Germany there, 03 at the top spot. Dirty Sprockets standings there, followed by Kirchmer Honeybees. On the bubble is going to be HDR Blowfies, followed up by Dirty Beast Alligators. Then a little bit further down, 6th, Draft B, Red Peloton B, Dirty Beast Hellhounds, followed up by Team Netherlands B2 and Vegan Bobcats. So that's the situation standing for the B category after the TTT. In the C's,
looks like RWB Green Dragons taking it out. Herd Mentality in 2nd, Kirchmer Stinging Bees in 3rd, AHDR Cruisers in 4th, TFC Thor in 5th, Team Italy in 6th, Evo Core 1 in 7th, Angry Birds 8th, Cryogen Pou de Dome in 9th, and ATP Racing Freon in 10th.
And in the D category, we've got Team CLS Delimited Diesels coming on through for first currently. It's going to be TBR Hard Knocks standing in 2nd. Then Zero Dark Dirty there in 3rd. On the bubble is going to be Herd of Fighting Frisians, Team Netherlands D. And then a little further down, RR Endangered Rhino is going to have to make a jump to get on the podium. High Speed as well. Herd of Slippery Seahorses. Yesterday were named the favorite by our... you get the fashion. I don't know if you get the names too as well. We'll have to go.
Do you know what? I was just thinking that, seeing all these herd names, I was like, even just herd needs an internal competition of who has the best. Because Fighting Frisians, that's got to be one of the faves too. I like that.
Somebody's got to be Googling like all the animals in the world, or you know what I mean? Or we have like biologists by trade who just know the entirety of the animal kingdom. We're like, well, this will get them right here. So anyway, Herd of Charging coursers are at the bottom, and lots to be lots can change up here as well. We'll take a look at those standings at the end of the day as well. So that's the situation on the day. Now, if you are over in chat, we can see everything that you are interacting with. And make sure to go ahead and let us know what you're thinking, who you're cheering for. We'll bring in your comments as well as questions. If you have a whiteboard yourself, if you have any opinions on the fashion, Anna will definitely rake you over the coals. She has with me plenty. Let's go ahead and jump down into the racing. We do have Kirchmer looking very organized. They are about 5 kilometers in. We do get our splits. Actually, I'm going to change that up on you. Apologies, everybody. But we're actually going to go take a look at what they are racing for their TTT today. So in this is a very interesting course, Anna. For a TTT, on the women's side of things, I'm thinking right around 1 hour to 1:10. What are you thinking for the total time that they're going to be racing?
Yeah, I'm kind of actually just looking at sort of live splits coming through as well. And it does look like for the A's that ETA is right under an hour, so 59:43. And for the D's around 1:12. So yeah, about 15 minutes over an hour there.
Yeah, gotcha. So it's definitely going to be a heck of a threshold effort, full gas. I mean, essentially, when you talk about FTP, it is an actual FTP effort. A lot of time when I do my FTP efforts, I do them in 15 to maybe 30-minute type efforts. You never really do a full gas 1 hour a lot of times unless you get into a race situation, and that's what they're in out here today. Again, they got the Volcano KOM. They've got the reverse. It is one of these situations where you kind of get a little bit of everything into your race out there today. There is the climbs and what they look like. Category 4 climb, actually, with 3.2% gradient average, but it does get pretty steep for those that do know the Volcano. The reverse KOM, not so bad. Definitely up front that spike, but pretty much drafting all the way up over the top. On the men's side of things, they're going to be taking on sand and sequoias once they get out on course. It is going to be a pretty flat endeavor up front, but right from the get-go, though, Anna, things get very interesting as there is a sprint point right away.
Yeah, so you can see that just after that red line at the beginning, that's the lead-in, and then they go for that Fuego flat sprint, which is a very long sprint. It's a tricky one to time that we talked about yesterday. Then they go up over Titans Grove KOM. They'll hit that twice. They've got the Anvil in today's racing, so keep an eye on that. We didn't see it used too strategically in the women's racing, but I think we might see something different with the men's today. They go through into lap number 2, so they hit that Fuego flat sprint 3 times and then that KOM twice. To be honest, it's going to have to be a tactical race because otherwise on this kind of a course, you don't want to take it to a bunch sprint to the line. There's just way too much out of your control.
I have to agree with that. I think that anybody who's trying to make things happen, especially those teams that are a little bit further down on the board, I have a feeling because we have teams that are, well, it would have been this way either way. No matter what, you're going to have teams outside the top 3, right? And they're so close. I think that on this course right here, you're going to see attacks in places, maybe at the bottom of Titans Grove that you might not usually see. You might see attacks. I've actually noticed that the best place to attack is after Titans Grove. Do you see... If you look at this graphic here, everybody, you get down to those little bumps there. And after those little bumps through the springs, there's some springs on the back end of that main climb. Then it flattens out. And I've noticed that immediately after it flattens out, that a lot of times it's one of the best places to go on attack. Now, the fact that there's a sprint on the other side of that, though, man, maybe after the sprint... Perhaps because everyone's going to be a little bit gassed, send somebody off because getting away on the flats is one of the smartest things I've ever seen done. I've raced Sand and Sequoias many times. KISS 100 races have been using it a whole lot lately. And, my opinion is Fuego Flats, and people might think I'm crazy here, it's one of the easiest places to get away in Zwift. And it's because it's such a long, flat section. And when people get a little bit more tired, you can manipulate the pack to let you go, essentially. You can you get the speeds really high. You get a couple off the front. It's enough space to punch orange numbers and get some distance between you and the pack. Whereas there's not a lot of places in Zwift that give you that much space without a significant downhill that causes the avalanche to chase you back with the pack. So really the fact that pack doesn't get that snowball effect for a very long period of time gives a ton of opportunity, in my opinion, to use the Fuego Flats to try and break things apart.
Yeah, Nathan, I tend to agree. I've never thought about it like that. But yesterday I commentated the Australian Cycling National Series, and it was the first time ever in Zwift I actually saw two riders from two different teams break away and then work together. They took turns on the front. Could we see something like that? I doubt it in a playoff situation, but that's actually how they made the breakaway work, is it was sort of like in real life racing. They took turns on the front about 10 seconds each. They managed to get away in sort of a two up TT. So what will we see today? I hope something. I've been messaging with Deepak, and hopefully they'll spark things up. They're at the top of the table and they want to make it up. So let's see.
They're getting the whiteboard involved. Is this? You're getting the inside whiteboard knowledge coming on through. They better be looking good today. If you're messaging them in the background, I'm fully expecting GQ from Sam Lindsay and crew. GQ today coming in from that crew. But let's go ahead and jump on in here. We do have Kirchmer out, and they are at the 8 kilometer mark. We will start getting some of these splits through 10 kilometers, 26 kilometers, and 36 kilometers are going to be the place. It is Agawatt versus Kirchmer out here today. What'll be interesting to see is what can Agawatt pull off. They are keeping them within striking distance across this about 1 hour timing that we are looking at. A little bit of separation here from Kirchmer dev team, and it looks like it's going to be Bornstein on the front. Britt Powell, it looks like alongside of Caroline. Laura Perry. Does look like they're losing one rider very early. I'm wondering if they're going to let her come back into the fold here. It does look like that may happen as Nina goes ahead to give her a little bit of a wheel. 5 watts per kilogram here coming in from Pellerin. As you were saying yesterday, this is going to be essentially Canada versus Germany in the A category.
Yeah, it's. I do want to mention Pella in there. So she's an under 23 rider. They've actually called in. She's been racing in a lower category, and this is going to be a little bit of a team building exercise to bring her in and see how she goes. So yeah, I've heard from Laura this morning. So she's the team captain out there. That you can see her there with her DJ dance set up on the Twitch channel. That's awesome. They're using it as a bit of a team spirit competition today, just making sure they can all stay together and all buoy each other up. But one thing I do want to touch on is looking at the power profiles of Kirchmer versus Agawatt. So this is more of a sort of a deep dive interest, I guess, in what will happen today. Is you've got Agawatt, which is more sort of strength based on the climbs. So lighter riders, not as high raw watts. I've seen from racing them myself, they're very good at climbing. Versus Kirchmer, who's a lot higher raw watts. I'd be quite interested to see which sort of profile works better on a course like this, because it's flat for a lot, but then you do have two relatively significant climbs. And which is going to win the day, the sort of the climby legs or the power legs?
That's a good question. I mean, yesterday we did see huge amounts of time brought back in the climb, right? I mean, that was a big prediction that we had. We were wondering whether or not that was going to go down. Then coming over the top of the volcano climb, we did see a massive amount of time brought back by specifically Velocio and Deepak. Cryo DT, a little bit different. I think more of steam engine kind of a situation. You know what I mean? They're just grinding through, and then on the back end, it seemed like for the last. And the interesting thing from Cryo that we saw from them yesterday was, and I've seen this time and time again, it always feels like they do that. They hold back until the back end of the course, and in the last 10 minutes or so, they just ramp up into that 7 watt per kilogram on the front over and over again. And, I think it's, like you said, it has to do with what is the talent structure of the team. What do they have when it comes to climbing legs versus, and you gotta show up in the same way that we talk about bike selection. I think you got to show up with your talents and use them as sharply as you possibly can. Really nail those down, and then survive or get the best that you possibly can out of those places. You might have some weaknesses, but you really need to make sure that you shine in those places where your talent is. So we'll see how that ends up playing out between these teams as the splits start to come in. It'll start telling us a tale of that, essentially, because we'll be able to see exactly how these teams matched up against each other in these flatter sections versus the climbs. Already, as we do come in with these times, 14:28 here from Kirchmer, but I think they've taken some time out of Agawatt at this point. But you were saying this is maybe more of a training day for Agawatt, having maybe some new talent on the team.
Yeah, it's just sort of what's happened with a few of these high level women's racing teams is a lot of them are racing in real life. So they have yeah, like I said, a young under 23 rider with Sky Peller in there who they just want to sort of nurse into the Agawatt team dynamic. And Laura's doing a great job with Agawatt. It's a real life women's team as well as on Zwift. So she's kind of just buoying up women's racing, making it really supportive. And she can see her there down in the left corner. Just yeah, doing great thing for women in cycling. She was on one of the World of Zwift shows I interviewed her for. And, when we talked about Prem League and, do you want to move up to Prem League? It was definitely more of we want to foster young riders. We want to put the spotlight on women's racing. We want to make sure everyone's enjoying themselves and having a good experience. So the priority first is enjoyment and fun, and second then is sort of results.
Yeah, as you can see here, make sure to head on over and to show some support. You can head on over to the Twitch streams. We are live there as well. Essentially, what's really cool about this in the community division, we kind of have a little bit of a Twitch Rivals type situation going on. If you don't know what Twitch Rivals is, sometimes Twitch will put on tournaments that specifically highlight streamers in the community. So the only people, we don't have that situation. We don't only have streamers, obviously, racing here, but we do get a lot of streamers streaming on different platforms. And with that, we're able to then dive in with them and see what their situation is from their perspective. So a lot of other esports will have a Twitch Rivals competition where it's specifically streamers all up against each other. And that's essentially what we have here when, in some ways, when we do have a lot of our community members streaming their race. So head on over to Zwift category over on Twitch. We always like to show that support. This is going to be where I'm at on Twitch. And you hit on this Zwift category, and you'll be able to see all the people who are streaming on over there. So just wanted to let everybody know that was happening. And it does look like Team Italy are having a party, actually. there's like a Team Italy watch party going on. Barney's over there getting ready in the pens. I mean, we've got as well a few other teams. It looks like Team Vegan is over there for the B playoffs. So plenty happening on that side of things. In the men's side of things, they are warming up still in the pens right now. So as they get ready to go, we're going to have, that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because with 6 minutes to go here in the men's side of things, real quickly, here's the pens. And I mean, this is going to be full gas from the gun, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
because there are sprint points on the line immediately. So be on the watch out here, you guys. We're going to be super excited for what's going to play out in just a moment in front of us for those first points. And after yesterday's results, a lot of these guys are going to be looking to grab as many points early on as they possibly can. So going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a few bikes as you got the screen up there. Looks like quite a few disc wheels, actually, which was, no, that's all good. I kind of memorized them there for a sec. Was there's a few Trons.
Memory. I memorized them real quickly. I got them. Anna's throwing away the whiteboard. She don't even need it.
Every rider. But I'm seeing a few Trons, a lot of disc wheels. Looks like someone's actually on a mountain bike, so hopefully they'll their teammates will say to get off that pretty quick. But not... I think with those disc wheels, a lot of teams might have a sort of dual team strategy, which is get your sprinters to be going for that Fuego flat sprint with the disc, and then potentially those on the Tron are like, let's stay up and do the hill climb. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing there. It looks like the teams are coming with a little bit of a strategy, which is always good in my opinion.
Jumping back over to the women now, we are in with the B category, and this is where things are playing out pretty interesting as well between these teams, because let's go ahead and see if we can bring in some of the standings still in this B category. Again, just as a reminder, this is where things are at in this beam category. No, this is actually going to be on the men's standings here. Let's go ahead and bring in the women's. Dutch Diesel cycling Zena yesterday. We saw Van Heulen able to take down second place to Thompson. TBR Smilon, we thought that they were going to be the dominating team and taking it down, but they did not. Dutch Diesel were able to pull off the top spot. Kirschberg Magnolia followed by Herd of Skipper Butterflies. Watch out for the Herd of Skipper Butterflies. They are right on the bubble. We're in with Cadence right now as they start to bring in their times. Currently, Herd of Skipper Butterflies at the top with a 14:53, Kirschberg Magnolia 15:02, and then Cadence there a little ways back. So interesting to see here, 16:55, suffering a little bit, and perhaps Thompson going to have to try and, pull things back together for them. She did seem to be the strongest rider out there. Will it be a situation where they come over the top of the climb? That kind of a time gap tells me either some sort of a struggle early on or they just don't have the TTT legs.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the power profile of D Makepeace we've got up on the screen, and her 20-minute power is actually pretty decent, 3.94 watts per kg, 234 watts for 20 minutes. For a B category rider, that's right on the brink of being an A. So she is strong. Maybe they've just started out a little slower potentially, or some of the riders perhaps a bit weary today. Let's have a look. But yeah, from Canada, her profile shot is a runner, so potentially a bit more of a runner than a cyclist. But yeah, Cadence just look not quite as cohesive as you'd want to see. Looks like they've dropped back again down to fourth with the Herd of Little Penguins moving ahead of them. And yeah, that first 10K time check, they're not going to want to see that. That's quite far off the pace, and I think they'll be moving quite a bit further down the line as we see some of those other time checks come in.
The heart rates are, across the board, the heart rates are very low, interesting enough. So, you see one low heart rate or two low heart rates, you go, okay, but something's telling me they're holding back here a little bit early on in this race. And Cadence, as we were saying, I believe this is one of the teams that are right on the bubble here. As I look through, they are in fifth place currently. Herd of Skipper Butterflies are in fourth. So there is a battle for them to take a podium spot here for them still. So we'll see how things end up playing out throughout the rest of the race here. Herd of Little Penguins come on in. Magnolia still just a little ways ahead. The battle is getting interesting there for those top three spots as more and more times start to come in, because 14:53 easily can be brought back. Yesterday, we saw almost a full minute brought back by the reality of Deepak's late charge. So, a lot of times in TTT, you see early on that, here's how things are going to play out. The reality of how long this team time trial is and those climbs in the middle of it, no, that's not how it's been playing out for us so far. We've seen a lot of time brought back, and the consistency across isn't necessarily what we've seen play out as the winning strategy of just, setting a very, very, very high pace. It seemed like those who saved something for the climb and then just turned on the afterburners later on were the ones that won out.
Yeah, looking at that, I'd say the top three that we're seeing there so far at the 10K, so they've got a 14:53, a bit further back a 15:02, and then a 15:18. Now that could just come down to different pacing strategies. Cadence with a 16:55, too far off the pace. That, in my opinion, won't be brought back unless those teams in front have a real shocker up Volcano. But what we saw yesterday with the men's racing was Deepak and Velocio were about sort of 15 to 20 seconds back at that first 10K time check, and then sort of switched that around at the 36K one. So I think, if you're within 20 seconds, you should hopefully it's just their pacing strategy. But if you sit it outside 16 minutes at that 10K for this race, I think you've gone way too conservative at the start. You're just sort of taking it easy. Seeing Dutch Diesel coming in there, surprised a little bit, quite a bit further back. You're looking at almost 30 seconds there between Dutch Diesel and Herd of Skipper Butterflies. So I know that they're strong though, and I would hazard a guess that that's more of a strategy for them.
Going to jump on over to the men's race. 12 seconds to go. Here we go in here with James Bevan is who we're going to jump on in with. It says we're watching myself, but we are not watching me. And as we jump in with James Bevan, it's going to give us an idea of what kind of a start that we're going to have. And he is going to be the sprinter I'll be watching out for, actually, on this Deepak team. because he's got one of the best sprints in the entirety of the world of Zwift, actually. I think it's up into the 20 watts per kilogram, I think, for his best. Anna, I'm somewhere close to that when it comes to a full gas effort from him. So watch out for Bevan to try and get set up well, as Deepak can be looking for some points early on. Again, in this race, it is at the top currently Cryo RDT, followed closely by Deepak in the point structure right now for the men's standings. And then in third place right now, it is going to be Velocio and then Team Italy. Team Italy on that bubble, looking to try and grab as many points as they can because they're sitting in fourth.
Oh man, yeah, I feel nervous watching this one because the start is going to be so brutal. You can see they're riding 46k an hour already. Some serious, up around 5 watts a kg. Someone there was riding 5.6 up to 6 watts a kg. Then having to sprint over a fast start as well as just this race. Even though you look at the course and you think, oh, it's not too bad, the effort they will be putting in at the start is going to completely burn the legs for the rest of the course. So yeah, this is by no means going to be easy. And I would imagine at that first sprint, we're going to see some significant splits. And then will we see that strategy, Nathan, which I like the sound of, which is doing a little bit of an attack on that long flat drag after the sprint, where it's before you hit that little climb out of the desert. Yeah, it could be something to play with the teams as well. But to be honest, I think they've been probably talking yesterday after the team time trial, know where they're sitting, know their competitors, and have dialed in some kind of tactics before listening to us.
This is crazy. Like already they're starting to open things up, and this is what you got to do in order to get people out of the race early on. If they start leading this out in this kind of a way, we're starting to see in real life type tactics here, because if enough landscape gets opened up between you and the pack, not necessarily that you're going to take anything down, but one of your teammates maybe sitting fourth wheel, but you got to have 4 or 5 teams doing this. You can't have just one team trying to make this happen. If enough teams start to stretch it out, then it would put the landscape in between them, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening here. They brought it right back in. Coalition gets shut down. Team Italy, look at them though. Really set up well, it looks like. Now Fusion to the front.
Another push. Here we go.
Now, Boro, this is it. Look at how long this lead out has to be, though. They're already into the sprint section here. Christian here from Fusion now coming through to the front. Velocio, now Nielsen opens up. Velocio looks like they're making the way to the front as well. It's going to be Jay Frank Duncan from OTR over the top, but he's just going to be a lead out, man. I'm waiting for the 15, 16 watt per kilogram to come on through. Nielsen now from ECT. Will he take it down? Where's Bevins? Where's Barney? Duncan. There's Jones. Barnes makes it happen. Wow. To the line. Amazing job. And that's just the first sprint. Innovation have showed up to race. Are they going to be able to make the leap today? Amazing job. And this is a race on our hands now, boys and girls. A different type of race, because yesterday it was TTT. Today it's all about pure power.
Oh, wow, that was phenomenal. That last kick at the end, you could just see the avatar really get into that streamline position. That was phenomenal what's coming through. Timed to perfection. That is a really difficult sprint to time because it is so long when you hit over the little orange lines on the road. I'm interested to see, I can see in the little map in the top right that there have been some little red dots dropping off the back here. So, and a lot of anvils being dropped. I don't know if people are...
they don't want them. Get rid of them. They're like, get rid of these anvils. I don't want them. Well, here's the thing. There's not another section anytime soon, though. I would have... I don't know. Like, okay.
Just don't,
if you
don't drop them on it. I don't know.
So, okay. Well, if those people who have the anvils want to sprint for the next points on the KOM, then it makes sense to me, right? Like, because... there is one tactic they could have done, is they could have hit it right as they go, like right before they go over the KOM, right? And then go over the top and have that on the downhill and then get their new power up. It would have to be very, very close to the line because otherwise you're using an anvil on an uphill. But if you do use it at that last moment, it will give you an advantage over the top. Not really worth it, though, perhaps. And they're just looking for an arrow or a feather, perhaps, on the other side.
I'm really confused, though, because the next time they get a power-up is at the top of the KOM, correct? So there's a couple of little downhills, but I guess they do. It's a long power up. I think it's 30 seconds. I guess if they drop it on a little downhill, the risk is that it'll still be there for the uphill. So it probably is a safer bet actually to drop it on the flat where you know you're not going to get impacted when you hit the little up. So yeah, no, that is a good point. And even on this course, even on any of those downhills, they may be at risk of it still hanging around when it kicks up. So yeah, okay, that would make more sense as to why everyone's been dropping them here on this flat portion of road. I didn't kind of take into
So
consideration that long power up.
Feather, Arrow, and Anvil, right? And so
Yeah.
with the Feather, Arrow, and Anvil, they are going to want the Arrow going into the sprint as well. So they would have to sacrifice that Arrow unless they use that Anvil the moment right before they go over the top of the King of the Mountain. So I think perhaps maybe not wanting to risk that because you're going to want an Arrow coming into that next sprint.
Exactly. So that's why we saw it. And then it could have just been a bit of sort of herd mentality there. You know, they see two people drop it and they think, oh, I better drop mine too. And then it just led to basically
everybody
someone
using their
had
Anvil.
being dropped. I assume, I haven't thought about this, I assume this looks like the dropped riders actually, unfortunately.
Yeah, 3 riders off the back here early on.
Looks like Alien Inc. as well. Holder there. That's an early morning for Australia. Good to see them out. But yeah, looks like that's not good for Cryo. They're sitting atop of the table at the moment. It's not good for them to have any riders dropped out of that front pack. And unfortunately, there is no way they will get back on 20 seconds ahead already. And that pack's moving so quickly.
Yeah, so moving forward here, still going to be a pack of 56 riders at this point. Z-Sun at the back. As we're going to start to bring in our point situation, we'll see if we can see exactly how it's ended up playing out here for these points at this right now. We do have them coming on in. So right now at the top, Barney takes down the first of the points on the day. Amazing kick here coming in from James Barnes and Innovation.
Wow.
He's got fastest through the segment. He's got first across the line. Duncan, well, no, he does not. Excuse me. Duncan Johnson is actually fastest through segment. Excuse me, OTR. And look at how much that matters. Across the line, he's got 1 point. But through the segment, 20 points.
Oh, that's so
Pretty amazing to see. So good job on them. Foodsray coming in for third right now. D-Pack Elite with Jones. Fusion are still involved, it looks like. Canyon with the Coalition. What's interesting, Velasio, Cryo DT, not even on the board.
Oh, that's this is telling me that potentially Cryo had to do well on that team time trial because I just am not sure if they've got the scratch racing at Palmeiras to do well against this Alien team, this Deepak team, this Fudre team. So that could have been why they had to push so hard yesterday to be in the front because, man, those teams behind,
Where's Team Italy, too?
Riders in this front
pack.
Look,
Italy in fourth. They're the ones on the bubble here, not involved at the top right now. So, again, that was only the first sprint, though. There's plenty more racing to go at this point, right? KOM over the top. We've got the next sprint section, another KOM, and then the final sprint. Some of these teams may be saving up for the final sprint as it's the most points on the day as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit excited here. That is we're only 6 kilometers in. There's a lot of tarmac left to race. But I think it was a little prelude to what could be happening in the rest of this race. People have turned up to race and race hard and get all those points. I mean, looking at Duncan Johnson, I didn't even think we mentioned him in that sprint. So it would have been a great sort of through the pack strategy to get that fastest time because to beat James Barnes, and a time segment across that is very impressive because we saw James coming on very fast at the end. So really good work there from OTR. Unfortunately, don't see many teammates around. But yeah, I'm looking at, there were 2 Deepak Elites, looks like 2 Fusion, a Velocio, and a Fudre. So a real mix there. And this main pack is huge as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing that does make things a little bit more difficult to try and get away from anybody is how incredibly how much speed, that the big pack like this can carry along, especially in a sprint situation, and being able to find exactly how to sprint from it. It takes a different kind of tactic when it's a larger group like this, because of how much the snowball effect can kind of also be a part of a sprint, right? When the speeds get really high, that's when the snowball effect starts to kind of take hold. And, in a sprint situation, even though you're at almost 1,000 watts amongst this A plus category, it's still the same kind of idea. It does carry you along very quickly, and timing things to perfection is very different with this many riders versus maybe if you're with a pack of 5 to 10, totally different story when it comes to this many.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through the live data coming in, and I'm just sort of thinking as well, it is going to have to be a race of sort of two halves. There's the sprinters, you're looking at James Barnes, who we saw take that out, had huge 15-second watts, 1,200 there, far above anyone else that I'm seeing, but a little bit heavier. I mean, 20 kg heavier than Fabian from Deepak. So there are hill climbers and there are sprinters. Now, if someone like James Barnes can't carry that extra 20 kg over the climb to stay with the front group, because these climbers are going to want to drop those sprinters as much as possible, as we're seeing Fitzpatrick with a bit of an attack off the front here. That's interesting. They could have been listening to you, Nathan. This looks like exactly what you're talking about.
This is not a bad move coming in from Skylab, actually. And Fitzpatrick here rides for CMI in the UCI team, actually. Now Skylab in the virtual world. And Foodray's letting him go. This is a little bit of a gap now, 7.4, 6.4. Audi now to the front. And here's the thing, with how much that's on the line, we're not going to see a lot of teams super motivated to chase this down and waste any kind of effort. You might get a situation where everyone just puts their hands in the air and goes, it'll come back, it'll come back. Fitzpatrick, he opens up 15, 20 seconds, and then the whole story changes. Now, the reality of whether or not he can... because if everybody's just going for sprint points, they might all just save for the sprint points. And so because of that, if they don't bring back that time during the sprint, TV time for Fitzpatrick, Morgan is saying, as he goes off the front here. But it is definitely a good tactic. Now, the point at which he's going off the front, though, is going to be difficult because there is a climb within about 1K of where he went. That does make things a little bit more difficult to stay away. And it does look like, you put 4 watts per kilogram to 5 watts per kilogram on the front, it comes back pretty quickly. Fitzpatrick now backing off. Hopefully he can recover in time, because this right-hand turn into this climb into Titans Grove, it's going to be a little bit more punchy than we saw before on these flats. A lot of times, if you don't get away by the little river section, there's the oasis in the middle of Fuego Flats. A lot of times you don't get away by then or shortly after then. There's just not quite enough landscape left before you hit this 3% uphill gradient. And a lot of times you do see 6-7 watts per kilogram on the front, and you're not holding that off the front after you're holding 5 to 6, correct? So the consistency ends up getting shut down a lot of times with any breaks if it's not early enough on the flats.
Yeah, I do just want to come back to we've got another attack here from Skylab. This looks like a little concerted tactical effort here. Yeah, this is 7.4, 7.9. They could have, as Clement's here from Skylab as well. So that was a teammate of Fitzpatrick, who we just saw do this exact same thing on the flat. This is a nice little place to do it, though. False flat. They're going to take the right-hand turn soon and head into the Titans Grove, where it rolls and rolls. And like I said yesterday, you just cannot get a rhythm, which makes the riding really, really hard, because if you're a rider who likes sticking to sort of a power number and just lock that in, this is not a course that you will like, because you just cannot lock in that power. You're rolling up and down, but 2 seconds already. Still riding 7.9 there. This is up into orange numbers. This is a concerted attack.
Yeah, he's not messing around. This isn't kind of like test the waters type attack. You start seeing these orange numbers like this, and my question is he going to let up over the top? In Zwift, racing out on Zwift, the gain of speed, a lot of times riders aren't thinking enough about that. Right here, he needs to be consistent and then let up just a little bit if he wants to. Actually, he's not letting up at all. He continues on. He's just throwing down. And now 8.9 again, 342. He's a pure climber, I think, this rider. You're seeing 8-9 watts per kilogram in that 500 range. I wouldn't be surprised if this rider's weighing in around 60 to 65 kilograms max, maybe less, because of the kind of wattage that we're seeing there. Clement's now 7.3, continuing on. They're putting their climber on the front as they hit the KOM, and Tabalong there from Cryogen seems to think that this is a threat.
Yeah, they'd have to, because you don't. If he keeps going like this, you're going to drop a lot of the team's sprinters, because they're not going to have the benefit of being in the pack. They're not going to have the draft
Stretching
up some
out
of these. Yeah, and this is not good for the teams who need those sprinters for Fuego Flats. And I'd assume Cryo is thinking that, because they are putting riders on the front. They're chasing it down, burning some matches, unfortunately, for them to get it. 5 seconds now, Clemence from Skylab, riding at 7 watts a kg, just riding more power than those behind. He's going to keep extending this lead. They've got to be careful. He's just coming in this sort of downhill. It'll lead into the uphill of the KOM. They could be getting a little bit worried. He'll get first across line. He could get fastest time segment, and he could break away from the pack.
Now, Italy here, it looks like to the front, 5.6. They are working against him as a pack at this point, which can be a little bit daunting. You start to look at the pack starting to work like that. But here's the thing. You can't, with these kind of situations, if it's only one team or maybe two working together, if the whole pack starts working against you, then it can get really, really frustrating. But still with 4 seconds here, they only brought one back with that little bit of a downhill. This still is a threat, because it does look like the motivation is coming out of the pack at this point. If he holds on to 2 seconds or 3 seconds at this point and continues on, this, I think, looks like a sacrifice as well from Skylab. I think they just don't even care. They've got a plan, and they're going to stick to it. I think early on they said, we are going to make moves here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different attacks. Not a bad move, I think, from Skylab. I would not be surprised as soon as he's caught if another one goes.
I think so, because I actually saw someone in the front of the pack from Skylab pushing some relatively high numbers to stay in the front of the pack. Just looking at some of Matthew Clement's details, full-time professional rider based in the UK, so riding at a UCI level, also obviously on Zwift racing as well. So it looks like the Skylab team is made up of quite a few real-life races. Pretty light rider, just like what you're saying, Nathan, so is able to push these really high orange numbers, especially up the climbs. We see Kabush there from Velocio was just on the front, Devola. We can see a lot of those yellow trons moving up to the front of this pack. So I think Deepak's got something planned with their climbers like Devola for the KOM that they've just kind of started now. It's just in the lower slopes, about 2%. So they'll still get a lot of benefit from the draft. They will reel in the Skylab rider. My question is, who's the next rider to go? Because this is a fun strategy to watch.
Yeah, and one thing I definitely want to point out as well is there's other teams in here that their chips are on the table in the sprint, thinking it's just going to come back. You start looking at Fusion ECT, you look at DPAC and some of these other teams that aren't as interested, I think, in a breakaway situation. They're just more interested in following the wheels, making sure they're within that top 10 or so, and then taking down the sprints up over the top. They're trusting that this is not going to stay away. Foodsray sent 2 off the front, though, 7 watts per kilogram
Awesome.
here, coming from Le Forestier, and then it's going to be Passe. Now, both of us may struggle with the French. We'll have to see how we do here. Passe le goût, I'm going to say they're coming from Foodsray.
Good try, Nathan.
Good, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the pat on the back, but it probably was so far off. Fusion now coming across. This is getting interesting, Anna. I thought it was going to be more of a procession a lot of times over the top of this KOM, but not today. It's full gas, looking for that premier division here at the top end. These guys are going all in at the early slopes of this climb.
Oh, this is amazing. And I'm seeing cryo riders, which is great to see. I know they've dropped on. There's 2 cryo riders, Hule and Mertens there, coming up very quick from the pack. They're dragging this pack up, which isn't good for the ones in the lead. They're just going to take this kind of hairpin left-hander, and then it's almost a flat, windy-ish road until, hill climb, sort of twisty-turny slightly. You can see there from the aerial shot. This is amazing. Look at all those orange numbers just coming from the pack. These guys are almost sprinting to the top of this climb, and it is stretching out big time. There will be dropped riders here for sure.
Oh my gosh, Danny Lilly is going. He's just trying to go for it from early on. This is going to be a sub 4 minute climb. I mean, this is insane. Here comes Aerial Power Up. Cassidy over the top. Cryo RDT, the current leaders, looking to take this down. This is what they were waiting for. Velocio still involved. It's going to be Fusion. They are trying to stay involved as well, but Martin's over the top. The German rider, 11 watt per kilogram, 192. Takes it down. Velocio is right there on the heels. Did Kevin Bouchard Hall take it against Ovid? We'll have to wait and see. Innovation's still there as well with Barnesy. It's going to be Wolves there, Diavola. Now, what's the damage that's done, though? Because we might have a breakaway situation as things are way spread out. This is demolished, and there's an anvil at the front. We're probably going to see all kinds of anvils being popped here at this point.
Yeah, and this is a really great place to have a split because not very far away, they've got to go uphill again. That's why we're seeing so many anvils, because just around these corners, I have a little bit of rest, just a tiny bit, and then it really kicks up to 8% for a short period of time. And if you have burned too many matches on that uphill, that 8% just burns you and you just drop off again. It is so disheartening. So really, really tricky part of the course. You've got to be up near the front. And we're just seeing here, looks like Cena from Team Ility, Frank from Velocio. It's just riders, they're in danger position here. It flattens off and then it goes around that left-hand corner. You can just see the ones at the front. They're safe. They're fine. These ones here, this is really bad positioning for them.
I think Cryo are going to just put the heat on the front right now. They know they've got a gap. I see 3 Cryo jerseys on the front of this race right now. RDT are just putting the heat on and trying to walk away from everybody else. This is 33rd place currently for Jeff Kabush. Fitzpatrick from Skylab there trying to shut things down. So it is going to be about 28 riders, I think, in the front group. Fusion just trying to hang on here, it looks like, with Zeldos. Tobo's there as well. Huvid. And that is going to be top 20 with Kevin Bouchard Hall on the back of it. Cryo DT, it looks like now backing off a little bit. Who's on the attack on the front? Is that going to be Team Italy, I believe? On the front, yeah, there's going to be Zanaska, and they've got the most to gain. They're the team that's on the bubble currently in 4th place.
Yeah, so they need to start pushing this pace through this rolling part. They've got to make use of all of the effort they put into the KOM, because if they can keep that effort going through this rolling terrain, then they manage to just burn off those riders at the back. And there's a long line. You can just see in that top right-hand map, the amount of red dots that are just strung out across the road. So that has detonated the pack from what I would say was about 60 riders down to, what are we looking at now? This is like 20 to 30 that might make this front group. So halved the pack up that climb. I mean, that was an absolute unbelievable effort that those riders put in. And we're seeing the benefit here. Small pack coming into the flats, less people going for that sprint.
Barnesy, we did see him right around that 7th or 8th place, maybe a little bit better across the top of that last climb here. And as you can see, still bringing innovation into the totals there with 38. Is he going to carry this team is going to be the question. But without other riders in the top 10 for the points right now, it might not be enough. It is going to be Barnes, Uskar there from Fusion, keeping Fusion involved, but Priority T, as you can see, they do have Martins. What's very interesting to see as well is that there's not a lot of consistency. I mean, Velocio, Kevin Bouchard Hall, Dan Cassidy as well. Those are the 2 Velocio riders. Fusion ECT perhaps here, but as you can see, it's kind of spread out across all the teams for these points. At the end of the day, it may be more about the final sprint on the day if it doesn't end up spreading out a little bit more across them, because it's pretty evenly matched. Velocio, the only ones with Cassidy and Kevin Bouchard Hall, that's almost as matching Barnesy actually at this point. So if they stay consistent, they may be able to hold on to that second or third place.
Yeah, a lot of riders, their main goal of this lap 1 has to have been to stay in this front pack, because now if you're in this front pack, it's reduced down. The chance of you getting those points for what will probably now just be first across line. I would assume all the fastest time segment points have been mopped up through lap number 1, because they were some insane times, both across the Fago Flat Sprint and the Titans Grove KOM. So I think now they'll be going first across line. I'm just trying to see how many we've got a bit of a mix-up of teams. I'm seeing a few Team Italy, driving pace at the front, like you mentioned. Velocio's there, a couple of Coalition. There's some cryo. I'm not seeing a lot of Deepak Elite, I've got to say. I'm not seeing maybe one or two, so that's not great news for them. Yeah, it's like you said though, Nathan, a real mix of who's in there. Now it's going to be reserving the legs and seeing which of these teams can just get those first across line points.
Going to head on over to the women's race here quickly before we head into the next sprint on the B side of things, and just kind of see, let's go ahead and take a look and see how things are playing out between the riders here in this B category, as well as the A category for the current situation for the standings in the team time trial. We are looking at Kirchner Cycling B as they hammer their way around the course. We did see a battle here in this B category between the herd of Skipper Butterflies, Magnolia Kirchner, who we are looking at. I believe this is going to be the Magnolia Kirchner, 43-20 and 43-16. Yeah. Very close battle here playing out between them. The herd of Penguins there they were in at 15-18, a little ways back. But, you know, that could be some time that's brought back. They are over the top of the Queen of the Mountain. Dutch Diesel Cycling were the top team coming in. So interesting enough, did they have a couple of walk-away riders that were carrying the team is going to be the question, I think, here for them. I didn't see... I was looking through to see if I saw Van Heuling in on the day. We'll see if we can find her from DDC. I'm not sure if she showed up on the day. And that may be why a little bit of struggling out there today, because she is one of the best time trialists in the world.
Looks like she is on the list I'm seeing. So I think she is racing. It looks like, if we've got eyes on her, it looks like through the numbers coming through from Zwift Power, she is out there. But on the screen, not seeing her either. So it's a little confusing as to where she has ended up. She's gone real stealth and has changed her name.
Yeah,
Zwift,
perhaps
so
maybe a name change in Zwift. Perhaps that might be what it is there. The men are going to come into
Molly.
Her
first name is
Molly.
Her first name's Molly.
Is.
So that's
she
her.
is there.
There she is.
I see it there. Got it. Then we are in with her right now. Now the men are about to sprint again. We'll jump in with their sprint, and then we will come right back to the women to see how things are playing out for the B category and the A category as they finish up their race. But the men are about to get into their next sprint. And it looks like, I mean, the hits just keep on coming. This is a nonstop race. With how quickly they are taking on this course as well, it really just doesn't stop coming at you because of that.
Yeah, no, I look at those watts that these guys are hitting, the paces they're going at the front, constant little attacks and digs off the front that just make it so hard. And these guys have got a long sprint coming up and on legs that will not have been recovered. We saw Team Italy really pushing pace after the KOM through Titans Grove. So no one's had much rest. Now they've had a little bit of flat. They probably can maybe sit in the pack for a touch now, but not very long. Very soon they're going to be hitting that Fago Flat sprint again. Can Barney do it again? I'm not sure how burnt are his legs. Who's got the motivation to do this? It's a different story to do this when you're fresh compared to how they're all feeling now.
Yeah, definitely. And interesting enough, I mean, Barney, he had an amazing result these first two times through. But looking at him now at the back of the pack, actually, is this a good setup for him? This is going to be him in the lower right-hand corner as well. He is coming completely from the back of the pack, full gas. This may be the way to do it. Interesting to see how he plays this out as he makes his way all the way to the front. Barnes, I mean, that was amazing. With an arrow power-up, completely just goes right through them all. Is that going to work? It may work. 900 watts. Barnes just sets it up with an arrow power-up and pulls it off. It's going to be Jones and Tolbo.
Wow.
I can't believe what I just watched. That was amazing.
Third, fourth, fifth. Fusion, third, fourth, fifth. Huge points for Fusion there coming through that one as well.
Barnesy, from the very back of the pack here, I mean, this is going to be him in the lower right hand. I mean, I'm going to see if I can actually get a clip of that because I had him in the Twitch stream actually. Apologies guys. I was going to actually try and have him up there, but this is him on his live point of view. There's that sprint. You can see it in the, I love it that he has the little, I like it that he has the little, graph up because you can see all the efforts. Look at how chill it is. Chill. Full gas. Like over and over again. I mean, but, I was watching this on the Twitch stream. His avatar was literally at the very back of the pack at the start of the sprint segment. And then he opened up the arrow power up in the middle of the pack, but he had already pushed on full gas from the very back of the pack, built up all that speed through them, and just got a gap. I mean, that I have not actually seen that tactic play out at this level ever before. What a move by Barnesy. And that's not the second, that's like the third at this point in time. He's taken almost top points.
And because fastest time segment isn't lap specific, it's just for that time segment, he could get 1-2 for fastest time segment. Those points would be absolutely unreal if he managed to get that. And potentially that's what he's trying to do. Imagine if he got first, second, third fastest time segment for one team. I mean, phenomenal points. I'm interested there to know, though, how Fusion's going to end up doing, because they were third, fourth, fifth, I think, across the line in that sprint. So, I mean, they're mopping up loads of points as well. But yeah, that was unreal to watch. You were watching Barnesy at the front. I was kind of seeing who was coming through for what could have been a fastest time segment. And we're definitely seeing Deepak there, who are sitting in second. I think they're losing out a little bit here. They're not really in the mix for these sprints. They've only got
Jones.
Looks like
Jones was there.
Riders.
Jones was definitely there. Okay. So we'll have to watch out for Jones. Italy, I haven't seen super involved. The thing is that these motivated teams, Fusion, if we look at the standings, Italy, Fusion, Alien, Resurrection, they're getting in the way for Velocio here. They're getting in the way for the Reality and Deepak. They're stealing points that those teams need, and those teams might start. I mean, they've got. Is Bevan still involved here? I mean, that'd be a question. Are there big sprinters still here, just saving something? Sam Lindsay's still here. Haven't seen him very involved in some of these sprints. You know, are there riders in these teams here that are just thinking, all I care about is being the first across line at the end of the day, because there's so many points on the line? And are they looking to try and stack that final field sprint? But I think it's been so difficult over the top. I'm not seeing Bevan here. I'm not seeing the likes of those big sprinters. I think that Cryo RDT and some of these just good climbers and top riders and more of your all-arounders have just split the field so much that they don't got to worry about that anymore. All they got to worry about is being a good tactical rider in the sprint now.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of cryo jerseys in this front pack as well. So that even though I know they dropped one rider off at the start, I think they look like they have about 5 still in this front pack. So I mean, they're sitting. Oh, wow.
63 points. He's almost doubled second place.
Oh my gosh.
He's putting innovation on. I mean, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What else can he do though, Nathan, right? What else can he do? There's no other teammates around him. I mean, where are the rest of his team? So he has to do this if they have any chance. It's got to be a one-man band for Alien Inc. to be able to do this, and he is performing that role to perfection.
He really is. He really is. Amazing job. I'm going to bring it in full screen here. We do have one rider off the list here. Apologies on that. I'll go ahead and fix that on there. But as you can see, Dan Cassidy from Velocio is still there. It is going to be Duncan Johnson, OTR. Oscar Feldros, that's going to be a Fusion rider, I believe. Oscar Ovid there as Hvid there as well. And then in between, Foudre is still involved. It looks like Velocio are keeping themselves in the race. Cryo DTR as well with Martins. This is going to be too close to call, though, because we see a lot of this Fusion as well as I'm not seeing Team Italy, though. They're the ones that are really on the bubble that are going to suffer the most from the reality of innovation and Fusion trying to come up over the top of them. Because if we look at the team standings, it is going to be that Fusion and Innovation that are looking to jump over Italy, and I don't see Italy anywhere in that top 10 right now.
They've got riders up there. They've got riders in this front pack. I just don't think they've got the sprint legs to compete with that, which isn't surprising. Those sprints are unreal how fast they are. So, yeah, we saw Team Italy spark it up a little bit up the Titans Grove KOM in lap 1. Let's see what they can do in lap 2. But also Cryo, they need to watch out, I think, a little bit as well. They need to make something happen on this KOM because this is getting way too close for comfort. And I think teams out there will just start to wonder, are we still safe? We were sitting in first. I don't even know if we're safe anymore because of the way Barnsley is riding for Alien Inc., because of some of these Foudre Fusion riders. I think everyone's going to be feeling a bit nervous, and this next KOM is going to be very, very decisive.
Definitely. I'm going to jump across over to the women's race now. As we are in with DDC, they're doing an amazing job, it looks like, here, trying to bring some time back. Molly, as I was saying earlier, one of the best time trialists that we know of in game, trying to bring some time back because they were a little ways back at the last time check in this B category. The current situation is going to be Kirchmer at the 58.50. The first one's through the 36-kilometer mark. Dutch Diesel, though, did bring back a good amount of time. We said the climb was going to be very important, and they actually had a 42.44. So they were the best time over the top of the climb. Dutch Diesel Cycling all the way back at 15:22. Again, we're seeing the same thing as we saw play out in the men's race. A lot of time brought back on the back end of this course. DDC, they may be able to make this happen, it looks like, and they were the leaders coming in for this B category, and it may be a walk-away situation because that gap looks to be only opening up. I thought the Butterflies might be able to hang on, but it's really a race for second, perhaps, between Kirchmer and the Skipper Butterflies.
Wow, the Butterflies just look like they've paced this very badly, I'd have to say. A 14.53 to start off with. They were almost 30 seconds ahead of Dutch Diesel at that first 10K time check. And then look at what happened to the next one. So something's happened to the Skipper Butterflies. They have sort of fallen off the cliff there a little bit with their result. Very quick start, and then something's happened up that climb. But looking at Dutch Diesel here, they're about to make the pass on the herd of little penguins. So that's always a nice morale booster when you make a pass on a team in front, and about 5 seconds ahead, 4 seconds now. They're really pulling in that time. So yeah, looking really strong. I'd be surprised if they don't push ahead of the other teams in front of them when we see that 36K time check come in for Dutch Diesel. But really, really impressive riding from them.
Moving forward a little bit, this is going to be the little penguins that are being caught here. They have a 45.16 at the last time check. It looks like sitting in that, I'm going to say they're going to be sitting in fourth place. Currently, Cadence with the 53.31. Good to see the herd team here with 4 riders left. It's going to be Claire, Andre, Sarah, and Tyne now coming out of Norway for the little penguins. Actually, there is one more rider. I believe there's going to be 5 of them. As Molly comes on through, though. What a push through there.
There's Dutch Diesel.
And flying right on through into the reverse KOM. This first little kick, it can be difficult to keep things together, especially coming through a team as Matt's now off the back just a little, has to push on. 153, as you can see, though. This team looks pretty well organized, that's for sure.
Yeah, they look comfortable. Even their heart rates aren't so high. I thought Matt's there with just having to push to catch up. Heart rate's gone a little high, but yeah, these guys are looking pretty comfortable for heading into sort of 5% climb. It's going to kick up around that right-hand bend there, gets very steep. And sort of the best strategy to follow, I think, is each rider just gets in their own up this really steep portion, and then you just come back together when it flattens off. When you try and sort of ride to a different rhythm up these steep parts, you can just end up really burning too many matches and not being able to get back on. She's got a little bit of a problem here, just 3-4 seconds back. Looking at those watts per kg, this might be just a strategic drop of Mattis there. I think they're going to be so far ahead. Dutch Diesel, we see that next time check that they're not too worried finishing with 4, though there's always the risk of a technical. You do need to finish with 4, so I always get a little bit nervous if you sort of don't have that buffer there. But I think looking at that, they will potentially drop her now that she's about 6 seconds off the pace of the 4 of these, we can see.
Yeah, it looks like 4 to the line here for the reality of DDC, most likely. Keep on moving forward. TBR Smile On making their move.
Yay!
Looks like. And this is one of the favorites here coming on in. And now, where are they on the list here? Perhaps we'll see if we can find them. For some reason not loading in. Apologies on that, everybody, as I'm not seeing them on the list at this point. We are getting a little bit of a skip here coming on through with one of our feeds. Apologies on that as well. We'll try and clean that up for you. But we'll see if WTRL can let us know what's happening with the current list for TBR Smilon as they're not showing up. Going to keep on moving forward, though, as we are in with Skipper. And then KC will be finishing very soon. Nice little gap between them and the teams that were chasing them down. P. Jenny here now from KCB1. Cadence, as you can see here, little ways back as they make their way around on the course.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Cadence, it's been pretty tough day out there. 53.31 versus the next one, Herd of Little Penguins, 45.16. So you're looking at 8 minutes there. So they might just be sort of riding it on in, although their heart rates are still relatively high. So like we said, though, it's a 40-kilometer sort of over a 1 hour effort to do this. It's a very, very hard effort these guys have got to put in. But it looks as though we've gone back to the men's racing. They are approaching, they're just doing this little rise on the road before they hit the KOM proper. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen on this KOM, but something's going to happen, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is where things are really going to start playing out, I think. As last time, I to be honest, have not seen that kind of action on this KOM before. I mean, this is usually this is a little bit more of a procession, but the reality of what Skylab pulled off early on and how they put the pressure on, it completely blew things apart. And now, then after that, to see Priority T attack over the top with Martins, to see Innovation still involved. Now all the pressure is on all these teams. There's going to be no sitting back in the lawn chair and basking whatsoever for any of these teams at this point. Because Priority T came in thinking they were comfy. I don't think they are at all, to be honest. I think, the reality of these points out here. Now, Priority T, they do have a lot of jerseys still involved here. I'm seeing at least 4 riders up toward the front. So stacking this final sprint is going to be everything when it comes to whether or not they're going to be able to stay involved. DPAC still have plenty of jerseys involved here. Italy, as you said, they're still involved. They've got jerseys here, but they've got to really hit a podium spot. They might even have to sweep the podium to stay involved because they were right on that bubble, and Innovation are coming in hot. With 63 points there with Barnesy, going to be a tough day, I think, for all of the riders. Everything's still on the line.
Yeah, they're just hitting this little downhill section before the climb starts. I've seen a few anvils being dropped. Look like Barnesy is just really relaxing at the back. If that is him with the anvil he had, could have been one of the DPAC riders actually. Just getting a little dangerous though. Like I said, it's sort of it's a little bit dangerous to drop that anvil in this rolling terrain because you could be caught out where you just go up a little bit and suddenly you've got a massive weight. But here they go. It'll flatten off just slightly and then they'll go through these twists and turns and hit this climb. You already see this pace is getting a little bit hot. It's somewhat getting strung out already. They've just gone over the start of that KOM banner. We've got some OTR riders at the front. I can see Cryo moving ahead pretty quickly, actually, with a couple of riders there. Team Italy, again, we saw them do this on the first lap. They just started out a bit early, I think, though. Cryo's pulled across them. Everything's staying somewhat together. I see a DPAC Elite rider coming through. That's Morgan moving to the front with the orange cap on. And no one's making attacks yet. It's just sort of little digs off the front.
Yeah, now it is going to be a Coalition still involved here, it looks like, with the German rider now making his way to the front. It's going to be Zoski. Then Sam Lindsay, your man there, making his way to the front as well as Barton from Velocio now, 5.0. Team Italy now 5-3. Now we are getting into the climb proper now, and it's going to be Italy now taking over at the front here with Sarah Harry and Lindsay there 4.0. I think this is all going to be just positioning over and over again, waiting for the final sprint over the top of the KOM, because I think a lot of these legs are going to be tired at this point. There's been a lot of investment early on, as you can see, the way that things pushed over the top last time. I mean, we saw 8-9 watts per kilogram coming from the Skylab rider from the bottom to the top almost. And then after that, attacks into 11, 12, 15 watts per kilogram over the top. It was essentially from this point forward, anybody who wanted to be involved had to push 6 to 7. I think these riders are going to be a little bit burnt at this point. Now, the question is, has anybody just made the pack who reserves something to go right now? There could be an opportunity.
Yeah, I feel looking at just how this is playing out right now, I think people, like you said, Nathan, they're just tired. They're kind of just trying to find a wheel. So when they, I just saw, Lindsay go off the front and then immediately get back a little bit. So they've got a Team Italy rider, but none of these Watts are attack Watts. They're just sort of moving ahead a little bit, positioning to be near the front. Is something going to happen, or are they just sort of going to be saving a lot for the finish line sprint? People are. You can see the heart rate still at 170 there for Paolini for Team Italy. I mean, they're not low. So I just think fatigue is playing a huge role now. They're going to come around this right hairpin, then a left hairpin. That left hairpin is on lap one where we saw it really open out with the orange numbers. So keep an eye on that at the moment. All a little bit status quo. Everyone's staying together. Now we're seeing some orange numbers. 2 Team Italy riders moving to the front. Let's see what they've got in store.
Martin's the one to take it last time. Eddie Uli as well. There is Team Italy actually on the attack. Good call there, Anna. And it's going to be Milano and Zanaska. This is the last ditch effort, I think, from Team Italy. They know they've got to make a move now. They were sitting in fourth place. They were on the bubble. CryoRDT chasing it down quickly here. Here comes Morgan from Deepak. 8.3 toward the front. Wood following very closely. Innovation do have a few riders still involved. Where's Barnesy? He's been the man so far. Is he coming on through? RDT with Eddie Uli there with that feather. Sam Lindsay now. Are they going to take the back end of these points? Here comes Lindsay. 10.4 watts per kilogram. Tobel's still there as well. Fusion ECT. What a move by Team Italy. Will they hang on here? Sam Lindsay trying to just lead things out and get as many points as he possibly can. Is there going to be a last-ditch effort from Martins there coming from CryoRDT? 11 watts per kilogram. He's going to do it again, perhaps? No. Jones. It's going to be B. Jones. Jones to the line with the speed. Jones. Holding on and makes it happen for Deepak. Lindsay takes fourth as well. So Deepak and Morgan is there in the top 10. Suddenly, Deepak are involved. They're here again. And Barnesy was almost off the back, almost getting dropped on the climb. Oh, man, this is really heating up because it's completely swapped now. And we've got only 20 making it. Last time he was 30, and it's split again.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I see a lot of fusion there too. They're not taking out the winning position, but they've got 3 or 4 riders right up there in the top 8. So, yeah, be careful of them. They could be the sleepy giants who aren't sort of putting their nose in the wind, but they're gathering huge amounts of points. Just looking at Barnes here, desperately trying to get back on terms. Make sure he makes that front pack because otherwise that sprint he has at the end is useless if he's not in that top group of 15. Looks like he's made it on. Looks like we've got
at all the
3
Deepak jerseys.
Elite.
Oh my goodness.
They played that well. Maybe they just wanted to ease into the first lap, not make too much noise, not burn the legs, and really save it for those final efforts. Good choice, really, because it seems like they took out a lot of points there. That back group is just a little bit far back, and not many of them. So if they don't watch out, they're going to get dropped. I wonder if this back little group of looks like 8 will catch back on.
Now, the question is, are there any sacrificial lambs in here, right? Right now, if there is one, they go to the front and push 9 watts per kilogram. Not enough to break the pack, but to try and carry this along. Too late now, though. It looks like they will get back on terms. Will they be able to split them again? Here's going to be the question. It looks like Fusion are trying to make it happen. Lexi Kalman following, it looks like Fusion out with Tobo. Oh, my gosh. This is every team on the bubble trying to make every last move happen while the rest follow, though. Deepak are still there. CryoRDT with Cohen is still here. Again, the points difference in the overall standings is only going to be up to 5 points for those that are really on the bubble. I'm not talking about the points in this race, but for the standings. The separation is not a whole lot. It's going to really just come down to this final sprint. There's so much on the line. Velocio still, it looks like, with 3 riders here, at least 3, and I think they're the riders that really need to make something happen in this final sprint because we have not seen them very involved in this last KOM, actually, and they only had, I think, 1 rider in that top 5 or so for the points so far. We'll see what Velocio can pull out, but it's so close here, Anna. You know, I've been looking at these point standings and looking at the standings as well. I mean, a lot of times you can do some quick math in your head and say, oh yeah, here's how it's going to play out. It is just way too close for comfort. Everybody's got their race on the line at this point.
Yeah, look at Oscar there. He's Fusion rider. He's second in points. I mean, Barnes is so
These
far
are not
ahead
updated yet from the last. These are not updated
okay.
for the last KOM just yet, though. Barnesy at 63.
Okay, I think
we're waiting for the update to come through.
I think the team that is not doing super well here is Team Italy. I haven't seen them take out many of the points. They've gone for early attacks, but in both KOMs have gone too early, and riders have surged past them at the end. So if you're looking at a team that should be feeling very nervous right about now, it's Team Italy, I think. I just don't know if they've done enough with the points that have been on offer. I was worried about that with Deepak on lap 1, but it looks like lap 2, they've pulled themselves together, have managed to get quite a few. Cryo still looking very strong with a lot of riders in this front pack, but we're not going to know until the final standings come in and we're talking about the results at the end of this race, because right now, like you said, Nathan, the maths and the amount of teams playing around for these top positions, it's just too hard to tell.
Now it looks like Tabalon for Cryogen making his way to the front. Chiang's there as well. And Team Italy, 2 riders making their way to the front, all about positioning at this point. I think a lot of the riders can just calm right on down. One thing I want to note here, the reality of the rider who played everybody last time through was Barnesy, and he is at the back. 141 beats per minute right now. Just chilling. Sam Lindsay here as well, though. 150 beats per minute here at this point. Now, one rider, though, that ended up getting dropped that you don't see a lot of times, Borel. Coalition as well here. We're seeing Nielsen. I mean, obviously been a tough day on the bike for these riders that just weren't quite able to make that. Pacheco from Deepak leaders off the pack. Cartledge from Innovation. This is going to be your main pack, though, at this point. It's going to be 30 strong, and it's all on the line for all of these riders. I mean, the reality is here, this is it, and one team is going to be on the bubble and not make it. And is it going to be Fusion again? Is it going to be, I mean, Team Italy, they were right there in that 4th place. Innovation have made a huge jump, but do they have enough riders at the front? You know, they might not be able to stack it enough at the front. It is a team competition. One rider can't walk away with all of it. They can walk away with all the points in the day, but it's not going to make the difference when it comes to if you've got people stacking that final top 10. You know, team competition, one rider can't make it all happen for the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 alien riders up in this group, but 2 in a group of 29. I just don't think that's enough. We're seeing, Velocio is doing pretty well. Fusion, I think Fusion is the one to watch out for. I just feel like they've been in the mix too much here. We're seeing, is that a little attack off the front?
Yeah, Skylab.
Very
Skylab
early attack from Skylab. This is fantastic to see this happening. We saw them doing this at the very beginning of lap 1. Patrick doing it again. Fantastic. This is what they need to do because they don't have the sprinters in there.
Skylab now off the front with Fitzpatrick here. Now it's going to be Zelaska from Team Italy going across as well. Vral from Coalition. And these are the teams with everything to risk, actually, because I think they know that there's too many teammates behind. And now Deepak have to make something happen. And they're sacrificing Morgan at 8 watts per kilogram, trying to send him across as Jones is looking to go as well. Lindsay just sitting in and following. Smart movement, Sam Lindsay, because I think he's their pure sprinter that's made it so far. It's stretching out. Now Wood to the front as well. There's a lot of work going from all the teams to shut this down. It looks like it's going to happen. It's going to happen just in time for a reset, and they continue on at the front, though. They're not holding back because they can see it's not quite said and done as Fitzpatrick continues. 8 watts per kilogram coming from Fitzpatrick. Now.
He's got no other choice. I mean, he can't sit in the pack and wait for the sprinters with that big of a group. You just can't do that. He's got to do what he's doing now. I love it. It's courageous. He's forcing Deepak to burn a few matches, but now they've got a slight little gap in the field. You've got Cryogen leading out that pack. Where is Barnesy? Because he's the one who's taken this out every time. That's who they're trying to put the pain and suffering on so that he can't do that again. If he's sitting at the back of the group, which I can see, he's sitting right at the back of that group, that's not an awesome position to be, but we have seen him come through in the last sprint from the back to the front to take out fastest time segment and first across line. So not sure if that move has worked by Fitzpatrick. It's probably put a bit of pain on, but maybe not enough in those sprinters' legs to make a huge difference.
Morgan now setting up. Here we are into the final K. Here we go. It's going to be Italy leading things out at the front of the pack, as you can see, with the 858s. Now here comes another attack here from Fitzpatrick. He goes again, trying to instigate something. He's going to get a little bit of a gap, but it's going to get shut down very quickly by a hard charging snowball of the pack here now. The avalanche of orange numbers. Barnesy at the back again. Is he starting to go? Is it going to work again, or is he not going to be able to catch them out? 11 watts per kilogram, but I think it's a little bit too late this time. 12 watts per kilogram coming from 13, 15, 16. He doesn't even have an arrow power up. No power up, and Barnesy is trying to make it happen, but no, it's going to be Jones, I think. Avola, Deepak to the line. Deepak, take it down. Whoo, what a sprint from all of the riders as they come across the line. And we've still got riders here finishing up. These points do matter later on in the race, but that was absolutely amazing riding all across the board from this men's field. And one last sprint here. These points are going to matter as we've got Aaron Bolrail here leading things out here, Anna. But Barnesy tried to make it happen again, but there was no power up. I think that's all that was, is there was just no power up for him.
And the sprints they're putting on at the front, I mean, I think potentially they weren't going 100% in those first two sprints, and that's why we saw Barnesy just really roll away with them. That last one, I mean, everyone was all in, and you could just see that the pack started moving quicker. There were sprinters all going to the line. Great finish here from Nielsen from Fusion. Again, Fusion, I've talked about them a lot.
Val might have nipped them. We'll see.
I'm just looking at the results coming through our Zwift Power here. We had Deepak Elite first, Fusion second, third, Deepak fourth, Fusion fifth, Deepak sixth. What do you make of that? This is
it's going to be so
that
close.
Is an absolute sweep from Fusion and Deepak. Fusion, I don't know, where were they sitting in the teams? Because they are moving up for sure. That was phenomenal. And that was another Fusion rider we saw there in 9th. And then another one in 15th. So,
man, I've got the standings updated right now. But we have to wait for the rest. We have to wait for the rest of the teams to finish, because these points at the bottom do matter. And if there's anything coming through still for points here, it will change things up. So we definitely don't want to mess with anything there. Let's go ahead and head on over to the women's racing still going on here, as we do have Cadence here finishing things up. And on the TTT for the women, it did look like the splits were here with Dutch Diesel coming on through. It ended up coming down to a very close race. TBR Smile On held on for that 57.50. We just didn't see them involved because we didn't have them on the board early on for some reason. So we did get them on the board here, as you can see. And TBR Smile On, it was a battle back and forth. They were ahead. They were actually ahead right up until the 36-kilometer mark. So amazing. And did they bring anything back at the end of the day is going to be the question, because there's still some results to come on through.
Yeah, and that's a great result from TBR Smile On. I've seen, is it Margarita from their crew just coming into the socials. Wendy Gallagher saying, go Smile On Racing Kermit. So there's a lot of support for them out in the community. Just want to say too, I've had some messages from Laura at Agawatt. They were up to a minute behind Kirchmer, but managed to pull back to 14 seconds back. So like I thought they might perform very well on the climbs. Yeah, and pulled that through. So great job for Agawatt. They didn't take the win, but used their climbing legs to their advantage and pulled in a ton of time on Kirchmer.
Absolutely awesome there. Yeah, I am seeing only 13 seconds back at the end for the reality of what Agawatt was able to do. And, being from what you were saying, maybe a little bit more of a training experiment there, ride for the team. Always really cool to see a team be able to get organized and throw down in that kind of a way. So very great to see. In the women's racing here, we still are going to have a few of the C and D category riders coming on through. So we'll see if we can jump across there as well and get an idea of what's happening with them. But this is going to be Cadence making their way to the line. I'm going to hold off everybody because there's so much on the line here right now. We just really want to make sure everything is spot on. We don't want to make any kind of announcements. We want official results because this is one of the biggest moments in Zwift racing for these teams specifically. And we definitely just want to make sure everything comes through absolutely correctly. So we're going to wait and make sure that all the teams get across the line because every last point is going to count. Every last point is going to count here. So let's see if we can get across over to the BRT team, though, perhaps, or one of the other teams in the lower categories here. This is going to be the BZR Bullets 1 in the C category. It does look like most of the C category, though, has finished as well. But this is going to be the current situation there with the Gentoo Penguins taking it down by about 30 seconds there ahead of the BZR Bullets 2. BRT Candy Kittens there, followed up by the Herd of Misfit Meerkats, ATP, and then Herd of Mischievous. Now, this is where things were at 36 kilometers. These are not the final results. Excuse me there. And then in the Ds, it does look like ATP Racing Buzz is out on course still. They may be the only ones that made a show on the day, but they are out there hammering away and getting some awesome practice in, and good to see. They're going to take down the gold if they were the only ones to show up on the day. So that's, still awesome effort, and you got to show up if you're going to get a podium, right, Anna?
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's always when they're long races like this in this team time trial and you've been dropped off the back of your team strategically or otherwise, it's quite a long race to close on down.
We're cheering on. We're cheering her on. We're cheering on. Yeah, she's the BZR team.
Yeah.
Giving her a little extra
Let's just
motivation.
say, there's a lot of chat coming through on the socials about that finish of the men's race. So that is starting to heat up to see who will. Let's see, James Barnes coming in saying that he didn't quite have the right power up at the end. I think he had an anvil, he's saying, so would have made it a bit tricky.
That's not exactly what you're looking for in a sprint. No, it's not what you're looking for in a sprint at all.
He said he's got to go back to bed now. He's a bit shattered, and great racing to everyone, and a shout out to the WTRL team. So thanks for that, James. You really lit that up, and that made it some very exciting racing.
Yeah, coming back to that sprint, as you can see, we'll go ahead and back this up just a tad, as this was where the riders had just come across the line here. We'll bring this in, but you can see right across the line, Diavola. I thought he was not involved, actually. I thought he was off the back. I didn't think that he was even in this pack. So great to see. Now you can see Barnesy. I don't see any power up over his head this entire time. He's really set up well on this sprint as how he plays it out here, though. He's kind of got this nailed, it seems like. It's not the way that I've played the sprints at all, but from the very back, I'm going to go all the way back to the start of the sprint section, actually, and we can see how this played out. So from here, we've got the Skylab rider off the front, Fusion sitting toward the back as well. Already, we do see the power-up starting to be dropped. No power-up from Barnesy. He's still at 6.5 watts per kilogram, and they've only got about 400 meters to the line. All the power-ups get dropped, and what's amazing to me is that Barnesy still makes his way through half the pack at least. I mean, I think he still ends up in somewhere in the top 5 riders, actually.
It's just kind of here he started to get swamped by those riders. You can just see behind him with the Norwegian flag. So I don't know if he made top 5 because just here about 4 riders passed him. But you can see there Avola, huge 14 watts a kg there with a very fast finishing Christensen from Fusion. And another cryo ride, actually. But yeah, Diavola there. Wow, that was a big finish.
Go ahead and take a quick look at the results then, and then we'll get into the standings. But in the men's side of things, Diavola just take it down. Diavola there from DPAC comes on through 53.58, followed up by Christensen, Eddie Uli for Cryo RDT, then Kalman from Fusion. Then it's going to be DPAC Elite with Jones. Fusion again. Fusion. Watch out. We might see some change-ups here. Lindsay there coming on through for DPAC as well. Very much stacking it. Kevin Bouchard Hall going to keep Velocio on the top as well there with that. So maybe that is the saving grace for them coming from KBH. Barnesy there, after taking down tons of points, still able to take down a top 10 for 9th. And then it's going to be Cryogen Abduez actually coming on through with Xiang there in that 10th place. In the B category,
Got the AHDR Blowflies with M. Stewart in first. Looks like another sprint finish here. All of those top 10 within a second. D'Angelo from Draft B in second. Pruitt in third from the Dirty Beasts Hellhounds. Nussbaumer from Kirchner Honeybees in fourth. Poynton from Dirty Sprockets. Iffert from Germany there, ZRG3 and his team Hugman in seventh. Jay Cesars from Dirty Sprockets in eighth, with Templeton from Dirty Sprockets as well in ninth, and then Larson from Red Peloton B in 10th.
In the C category, I believe we still have a few out there racing looking to finish up. So let's go and take a look over at the women's results then. It is going to be Kirchner Cycling. You did talk about this, 103.59, but Egelwatt bringing it back. They were over a minute at one point, all the way back to that 13 seconds. What an awesome job there coming through from Egelwatt, but Kirchner Dev are going to win this one for the playoffs. For this, though, look at that! TBR Smilon, bring it back. They were behind by like 5 seconds or so, I think it was. And then they end up bringing it back with 5 seconds out. Amazing job from TBR Smilon here, Anna.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I did actually wonder when we saw that. It was a 36K we saw that last split, and they're a little bit behind. But then it was only, still got 6K to ride. We saw it happen with the Cryogen men's team, is they managed to claw that back at the end. So it looks like TBR's done that again. That is phenomenal racing from them. Awesome. Over the Dutch Diesel, Cycling Zenas, 5 seconds back. It's a bit devastating in second. Herd of Skipper Butterflies in third. Kirchner Magnolias in fourth. Herd of Little Penguins in fifth. And then quite a bit further back, rolling on was Cadence in sixth.
All right, and then in for the C category, Herd of Gento Penguins come on through for first place. Then it's going to be Belgian Zwift Riders Bullets 2 in second, 32 seconds back. BRT Candy Kittens for the TTT, bring it in 104 back. Herd of Misfit Meerkats in fourth. ATP Racing Hive there, followed up by Herd of Mischievous Meerkats. I'm getting lots of messages through about how close everything is. It's crazy, everybody. Yeah. People are still finishing for points. This is a team competition, people. Every point matters, because I thought it was said and done just when, like, about 5 minutes ago, but I'm getting told no, there were still people sprinting for points, still people coming across the line for points. So every point matters. It continues to refresh. The data keeps coming in. So keep on racing to the line in a team competition. In the D category then, Anna.
WTRL Drafting Dinos in first, with ATP Racing Buzz in second, Rave D Euro in third, and Vibe in fourth place.
That is the situation for the results. We're waiting on the standings here, and as they come through, oh my god, oh my gosh, we've got all kinds of stuff happening. I'm being told, still out there racing right now. There's some final innovation riders that might change things, Anna. So this is insane.
I just saw that
like you saw that come through over in chat. Like there's still people out on course figuring out what is going. I mean, this is crazy. For the champions, though, on the women's side of things, we can at least bring that on in. This is the situation, and congratulations to them on the A division. We'll go ahead and show that, and amazing job. A lot of work went into this for these riders, and it is going to be the Kirchner Women Dev there, Season 3 Women's Division A champions at the top. Hannah Bornstein, it's going to be Hannah Kolig, Lena Loeffler, Stina Mick, Lisa Mueller, Nissan Naman, and then Laura Palinowski for first place. They take down the gold of the championship for Women's Division A, and will be heading across to the Premier Division. But also Egawatt there with Carolyn Borloo, Inita Leilu, Sky Pellerin, Laura Perry, and Britt Powell coming on through as your champions in women's. You know, speaking to this here, Anna, this is teams that you know, racers you've raced against, I think. I mean, how do you think these teams are going to, just as a talking point, their performance in the Premier Division, where do you think things are going to stand? I mean, looking at what kind of level that they're racing at.
Yeah, they're two totally different beasts. I mean, we talked about it in the team time trial yesterday, a 6-person team time trial with varying power profiles versus a 5-person team time trial in the Premier League. Very different ways to race. I think usually from what I've seen across the seasons, when a team goes up from the A-Cat up to Prems, probably the best they're going to do is about 8th, because those teams above them have been racing in prems for a long time. They know each other. They know the riding styles of the people around them. They know which attacks to go after, which ones to leave. So it might take them a little while to settle in. I'd say Ionian has performed particularly well. I'm not sure when they went up, but they've been doing really well in Prem League. So for these teams, like we've just seen Kirchner, maybe just watch the Ionian sort of arc through from community up to Prem, because they've been one of the standouts, I think, in how they've performed. But yeah, very different racing styles. You've also got the sort of the technical stress of dual power, weigh-in videos, all of that kind of stuff as well. And I think just community teams will take a little bit of time to get used to it. But yeah, I'd say for the teams we've seen there, probably top 8 in Prem League is where they'd be sitting.
Yeah, so I mean, top 8 still keeps them in. If they're able to, I mean, it's gonna be a big jump. It's a huge jump to come up into the Premier Division, and a lot more pressure. I think that too, when it comes to the Premier Division as well. Waiting on, I guess we've got 2 riders out on course. We can go cheer them on, maybe. We're waiting on Will Dixon and Sean Vinton.
Tell them to get going.
Come on, boys. We're waiting to see what's going on here, Vinton and Dixon, as they are out on course here, just rolling around, it seems. I was going to see if I could actually find them out on course so we could all watch as they try and bring these points across. We're going to see whether or not that's going to even change anything. The question is, are they on the bubble still here? I'm not sure it's really going to change much of anything in the men's standings. No, it is not. It is not going to change anything within the men's standings from what we can see. So let's go ahead. Oh my goodness. Is this right?
You've seen it?
Well, I'm just. All right. Well, here we go.
I'm excited.
Wow. I thought things were going to be a little bit different. I mean, this is, I'm sad and happy at the same time. Well, I mean, I love all these teams. We'll take a look at the final top 10 standings, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring us right on into the championship for the podium. And here it is, Anna. You're going to be really happy, Anna.
Oh!
So, Deepak Elite, they take it down.
Yeah.
James Bevan, Fabian Davola, Stephen Ferninger, Ben Jones, Sam Lindsay, Ed Morgan, David Pacheco, and after watching your World of Zwift interview, these guys have been after that for a while, and they made it happen.
I am so stoked for these teams. I mean, I love all the teams out in community, but these guys have a little special place in my heart. There's a Kiwi on their team. I've been commentating on these guys for, probably coming up almost a year now. It's just phenomenal to see this. It's, I love it. They've worked so hard. They've put so much effort in. I mean, phenomenal, almost speechless. Seeing them come out on the top as well, jumping over Cryo. And I know you'll get to Fusion too, but I thought they might have made that 3rd spot because they had so many riders up there. So awesome for them too. And I'll let you carry on with Cryo. But yeah, I feel great for this team. It's just, you see hard work pay off and it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, it does. Now, Cryo RDT, this is a team Deepak Elite, I think that all these teams obviously deserve it. They just fought with the best of the best across all of the world in Zwift racing to get here. There's no takeaway from any of these teams that says anything that says they're not supposed to be there. I think they're going to jump up there and be very competitive because of where they had to come from to get there. And Cryo RDT, I'd say consistency is what got them here. They're very consistent. They had an amazing time trial, obviously. They know how to run that time trial. They're going to jump in my opinion, right into the deep end of taking top 3s in the Premier Division. Deepak will have the work cut out for them, I think, a little bit there. They've really done some good job to get themselves in the top spot, obviously, for the TTT yesterday. Today, they showed us they know how to points race. Now, Cryo RDT fading a little bit there. So amazing job. Aaron Broba, Cohen there as well. Nick Hurd, Eddie Uli, Martin Martins. And then it's going to be Jack Poley, Lars Wickart, and Matsus Siarka across the line. Now, Fusion is the story, though, for me, because I didn't think it was possible where they were at. I mean, Anna, they were way down the leaderboard coming in, and they pulled it off in the end. Alexei Kalmans, that's been a name that I've been commentating on for 2+ years at this point, looking to get to this top level. Jep Tobel as well, another name, Simon Nielsen, all of these riders. Thomas Malo, it's going to be Oscar Hved, and then it's going to be Oscar Feldhaus. All these riders, top level, and they've been after this for 2 seasons now, and they've done it in the third. Amazing job from Fusion ECT. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how things played out in the top 10. And this is going to be the sit where we go, oh, man, it was so close. And I thought Velocio were going to do it, and it came down to 1 point.
Oh, that is heartbreaking for Velocio. But, I mean, Fusion just had stacked that finish line. They were, I think I read it out at the end, it looked like they were sort of sitting in 3 riders in the top 6. I mean, that's what happens, right? But, yeah, Velocio, my heart breaks for them a little bit in 4th. Team Italy in 5th. Alien in 6th. You've got Coalition Aurora in 7th. Skylab, they made some good moves. They kept it exciting. They're in 8th, Foudre in 9th, and On the Rivet Hayes in 10th.
Yeah, Velocio, I thought that they had it locked up, but it's not over till it's over. Oh, man. And there were some hungry men out there trying to really grab every last point they could, making it happen. Now, in the B category, the Dirty Sprockets come on through with 39 points, tied up for ZRG, but it's going to be first place going to Dirty Sprockets on the day across the line there. And then it's going to be Kirchmer Honeybees for 36. That's your top 3 in the B division. HDR Blowflies come on through, followed by Draft B, Dirty Beast Hellhounds, Dirty Beast Alligators, and then Rebel Peloton B, Team NLB2, and Vegan Bobcats. That's the current situation for the standings in the Bs. In the Cs, I believe, are all ready to go. In the D category, we may have to wait a little while or head on over to WHL Racing, but Herd Mentality at the top there, Anna.
Yeah, so Herd Mentality did great. First place there, evens, but obviously took it out with RWB Green Dragons. Kirchmer Stinging Bees in 3rd. Team Italy 3 and 4th. AHDR Cruisers in 5th. TFC Thors in 6th. Cryogen Pudodome in 7th. Evo Core 1 and 8th. Angry Birds 9th. Z-Sun taking that final spot in 10th.
That's the situation here for the C's. Things may change for this D standings at this point. This is where things stand before there's still some to come across. So do not take this as final. These are preliminary, provisional results. I'm not going to read through them, actually. I want you to head on over to WHL.racing to get the finals on this because we want them to be right and correct as there's still some D riders out on course finishing things up. Well, that's it. Season 3 is done, Anna. It has been an amazing, what are we, 10 weeks in at this point, I believe? Yeah, 10 weeks total of Season 3. And we've got a selection that is definitely worthy. A few more teams that have to come back fighting next season. I'm already seeing in chat, Innovation saying they're going to be back. I'm seeing Velocio. I'm seeing there's plenty here that are going to be like, look, we're back next season, Season 4. We're hungry for that. We want to hit Premier Division. But we've also had teams that have been fighting to get there for a while and now have made it to that top spot. And there's probably going to be a lot of celebration tonight.
Yeah, that last race. I mean, that turned it on. We had no idea. You found out about 5 seconds before I did. I could see your face lighting up, and I'm just wondering who's made it. I mean, it all got mixed up, and that's what sport is. You have the dreams made and the dreams crushed, and we've had both happening today. So, yeah, very, very exciting. It's exactly what we're going to see in playoffs.
It is absolutely awesome. All right, well. Zwift Racing League's taking a break over the summer. Be on the lookout for announcements of the Season 4 that is going to be coming at us in the fall. ZRL, from what I'm being told right now, back in October. So we're looking back for ZRL Season 4, October. Get prepped. Go do your drafting. Go figure out who's who. Make sure to get your whiteboards out. Make sure to figure out exactly what your fashion is because it looks like there's some awards being thrown out for that as well. Remember, duathlon next week, everybody, for WTRL. The classics are starting in July, so be on the watch out for that. We've got a lot coming through on World of Zwift about the classics as well, so we will be handling all of the broadcasting for the classics actually here on Zwift Community Live, so be on the watch out for all those announcements. Next up for broadcast is obviously going to be the WTRL TTT. Be on the lookout for maybe some new workout broadcasts as well, and that's going to be it for us. Thanks everybody for being a part of the Zwift Racing League. It's obviously a major part of our lives, major part of your lives. All the viewers that have been tuning in, we've absolutely loved this. And I'm looking to hopefully. I've been trying to get in on some racing for next season. I've been doing the TTT, Anna, and I'm like, I really wanna. I might be looking for a team. We'll see what happens. We're gonna have to get. We're gonna have to get Anna on the full-on productions though if we're gonna make that happen. But
yeah, you need a race, or you need to do that and race at the same time. You'll have
I'll be doing productions
right?
and racing. I mean, why don't we just add one more thing to my list? One more thing to my
exactly.
One more thing to my list. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you haven't hit those subscribe, follow, and notification buttons, make sure to do so. And as always, everybody, head on over to WTRL.racing for more results and more things to come. And as always, ride on.